Hey, do it now. Hey, hey. Yeah, once I was a kid in Acros, leading an irregular band. I grew into a big man. Got whip swords on the back of my hand. Oh, killed everyone around me. Found out I'm indestructible. So I decided quickly, yes I did, to planes walk out and check out the show. Well, I was slashing and swinging and piling up the bodies. Oh, Ketra, she picked me for going through the trials and shouted, play that janky win, con white boy. Play that janky win, con right. Play that janky win, con white boy. Lay down the emblem and play that janky win, con till you die. I can't die. No, I can't die. Oh, at first it wasn't easy. Getting in the jank of the game.
Special shout out this week to Steven from my real life playgroup who let me have this phantom power supply. Yeah, so this is recorded on my new mic that sounded bad the first time during the GP episode because I did not have a phantom power supply.
Power supply.
From the Netherworld.
Yeah. It's Commander Time! Welcome to Commander Time! We are yet another podcast about the Magic the Gathering format known as Commander. Today is very special. We are discussing some gourmet jank, cooked up by our master jank chefs. I'm Nate Burgess.
I'm Dean Goody.
And I'm Patrick Cipolla. I suppose the head chef here.
Yeah.
And after the jank, we might talk about some games we played, we'll tell you what our pets have been doing, and then maybe you'll hear a goofy song. Sometimes you hear the goofy song first, depending on how good I think the song is. But first, shout out to our patron of the week, Keith Jackson. The main topic. So, our main topic today, these guys have brewed up a deck that takes no turns, intentionally, on purpose.
It's all your fault, Nate.
What? I don't know how it's my fault. Why is it my fault?
I think it was me, actually.
Well, no, it was... Wait, I think... No,
It was from the article review when I did Future Sight, and I talked about Chronomantic Escape, and you said, what? Till your next turn?
Yep, and then I saw Nate play it in his level up Pillow Fort.
Ah, you saw him play the card, right.
Yeah, and then once I saw him play it, I do what I do best, which is go to Magical Christmas Land.
It's the only format I play.
Yeah, and so to elucidate, Chromantic Escape reads 4 white for sorcery. Until your next turn, creatures can't attack you. Remove Chronomantic Escape from the game with 3 time counters on it. And it also has to spend 3 for 2 and a white. And so it's right there in the beginning of the sentence, you know? Until your next turn. Well, if you don't have the next turn, you just can't be attacked.
That's great.
Oh my goodness. But how are you going to do anything if you don't take a turn? Oh man.
I have been sitting on this brew for like a month. Because I stare at it and it's just like there's so much you need to do in order to make you have pseudo turns so that you're not just out of the game. It's like giving yourself phasing.
If only Prophet of Krufix was unbanned again.
Oh, I know. This would be so much easier.
Sheldon! Give us back the Prophet.
This deck would just be straight up banned. No problem.
Well, yeah, my version of the deck is banned.
Yeah. And I think you're onto something, but black brings some very interesting tech.
Of course.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to start there, I don't think, though.
Well, we've discussed the what we're doing, and we've kind of discussed the why we're doing it a little bit. How do we make a deck that's still playable if you take no turns?
Well, there's some challenges. There are some problems. There's some challenges. Luckily, there are a lot of decks out there already that want to take additional turns, so we can kind of glean that. And there's also a lot of people who want to take their turns while other people are taking their turns. So we can actually just kind of scoop that part of the solution out.
Sort of the draw-go archetype, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or, like the very hardcore combo players will oftentimes do that just so that they can always plane at the end step and avoid most of the hate that would happen, so they can go off on their turn.
Right, but they're still counting on untapping all their permanents on their own turns.
Right.
Which we are not going to do.
Nope, we can't do that. So first things first is we have to literally remake what makes up a turn in our deck. So we need to figure out how to untap, how to draw, how to cast non-instants. We're not going to be attacking. That's one thing that there isn't really a way to change.
Yeah, I guess you could Mindslaver somebody.
Yeah, you could mind. Well, that's a different take on the deck. But anyway, so yeah, you can't actually have those really nice things, the things that most Magic players really like, which is, drawing cards and untapping and doing stuff if you don't have turns. And so because you don't have combat, you need to figure out a way to win that isn't combat, unless you really don't care about winning, in which case...
Sorry.
I mean, I guess
Some group hug players just want to watch other people burn the world down for them.
Yeah. I still want to win. So, I mean, that's part of the puzzle. And the last piece of the puzzle is how to be a good deck while still taking turns with any individual piece out. We'll get more into the specifics of it as we go on, but those are the three big deck building challenges to it.
And the big problem is that each part of the turn is a different piece of the deck, and there's not a whole lot of cards that duplicate those effects necessarily.
Yeah, and you're going to want to be as consistent as possible for something like this, because if you get stuck on any one part of it, you're just out.
Right. Like in our last game, you had everything set up, but you didn't have any card draw, so you were kind of hosed.
Exactly. I couldn't count on my draw step, and so I had to do everything with what I had in my hand. There just wasn't enough there. So we're very close to this, you guys. We're very close. I know we are. I believe in a little thing called magic.
and Christmas Land?
Yeah, and Magic Christmas Land. So now that I've presented the challenges to the deck, what are the upsides?
Yeah, why do we want to do this?
So, first of all, we don't have to deal with anybody's triggers on our turn. Nekuzar making you draw extra cards during your draw step. You don't have a draw step. You don't have to worry about that. Upkeep triggers, don't have to worry about those. You don't have a cleanup step, so you're no longer discarding from maximum hand size. When we have the full combo out of not being attacked, you no longer have to worry about actually having defenders for your game. And because we're not worried about having defenders, we know much more specifically the ways we would lose. So we can kind of plan around that a lot easier.
Like a board wipe.
Yeah, board wipes worry me very much in this deck.
Yeah.
Another upside is that there are some cards in Magic that have very costly downsides to them. But with how the delayed triggers work and how we're just not taking turns so that we'll never have the priority, we never have to deal with those downsides. Pact of Negation, Slaughter Pact, a lot of cards like Glacial Chasm, Glorious End is another great one.
Are you running Mystic Remora in here?
I was thinking about it. I think I was making a lot of cuts right at the end, and I think one of the reasons why I didn't go with Mystic Remora is I really didn't want to have to be dependent on somebody casting a non-creature spell in order to draw a card. So it probably was the wrong call. This is really the first workable draft I've come up with. And the last reason there's a huge upside for this is that it really screws with people. There's nothing quite like playing a chronotog to somebody who hasn't actually been around Magic for a long time and just be like, why would you play chronotog? And then when you skip your next turn, they're very confused.
I think, to be fair, I think you would confuse lots of people who have played Magic for a long time by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. But at the same time, when your opponents are confused, that's good news for you. That means you're a step ahead.
Hopefully.
That's kind of the politics angle of this deck.
And you get the enjoyment of seeing the expression on their face or hearing the "oh" in their voice.
What? Picking up your card and looking at it, and especially when it's like a 30-cent rare from God knows when, you know?
Now, let's see. Visions.
Yeah.
Chronotog is from Visions.
Yeah. So, until your next turn lasts forever.
Mm.
So, you have to keep track of how many turns you're going to be skipping, because if you ever get into a position where somebody has taken out all of your skip a turn effects, all of those upkeep triggers and end step triggers that you have been so deftly avoiding will come back on your next turn, no matter when.
Wait, all of them?
All of them.
Okay.
So that's why you run Time Stop?
Yep, Time Stop would be good. Sundial of the Infinite would also be good in this deck.
So those are both cards that end the turn and exile all spells and abilities on the stack.
Yeah. So these are, very... There's just so much to think about when it comes to kind of setting up your board state. So let's start talking about ways to kind of abuse the never taking a turn effect. The first one is avoid cumulative upkeep costs. Did I say it right this time?
Nope.
One day.
So we're going to avoid cumulative upkeep costs?
Yes. That's the first thing we're going to do. At time of recording, solemnity
Yeah, that's good.
hasn't been released, so I actually just didn't really think to include it in the deck because I haven't seen it in my hand to play with. So saying that players can't get counters and counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands combos really well with anything that has like a limited lifespan based on how many counters are on them. So it's something like Decree of Silence, which counters spells and then puts a depletion counter on itself.
So that's a permanent, so it's an enchantment there.
Yep, it's an enchantment. And so long as it's out, it'll counter 3 spells. But once it has 3 or more on there, you have to sacrifice the enchantment. So it's not permanent unless you can get those counters off somehow or make sure that they never get there in the first place. So that's the kind of things you can do there.
So specifically for cumulative upkeep, for like Glacial Chasm or Mystic Remora, Solemnity acts as like a redundant skip your turn effect.
It does, but you still have to pay the upkeep on it. You just don't have to pay additional upkeeps.
You pay for it if you have an upkeep step.
Yeah.
But otherwise, a hidden part of cumulative upkeep is that it works on age counters.
Yes.
So those count for solemnity. You can't put the age counters on anything that has a cumulative upkeep, and so they do not accumulate those pesky costs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Glacial Chasm is a land. It doesn't tap for mana. It says cumulative upkeep, pay 2 life. So you put an age counter on it, and then you pay 2 life for each age counter on it. And with Solemnity out, or with skipping your turns, it's just not going to accrue any counters.
Right.
And it says, creatures you control can't attack, and prevent all damage that will be dealt to you.
Yeah. It's a sweet card. It sees play already, just without any nonsense included. If you are a non-combat deck, and you are in a very heavy combat meta, it's great. Just great card. If there's somebody who you really just want to say, no more burn spells for you,
Neheb the Eternal.
Yep. See, right there. You can just kind of say, hey, you can attack all these other people for a little while.
Glacial Chasm is in 2,769 decks.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, it's a good card.
it's not uncommon to see it, at the very least. So, from there, use your imagination. There are tons of cards out there that use cumulative upkeep.
Cumulative.
Nope. Isn't how you pronounce it either.
Hey.
Cumulative.
Hey.
That's it.
There you go.
We've got it.
Here, just cut that part out and then just make it over and over again. Paste it over.
Boop. Cumulative upkeep. Boop.
There are tons of cards out with that particular keyword. So we can start to play with those kind of effects. The cards actually do tend to be quite powerful as well, because it's not an effect that is usually going to stick around forever. There's an upward limit of how many times you can pay 2 life, unless you have infinite life. So the cards themselves tend to be pretty powerful if underplayed because of that tax that they have. So we should probably talk about how to recreate a turn.
Yeah. The phases of the turn are untap, upkeep, draw. So how are we going to have our untap step?
Well, we have Seedborn Muse and Awakening as 2 green spells, and then there's also Unwinding Clock for artifacts. Seedborn Muse, classic green card with 3 green creature spirit. She's a 2/4, so even for 5 mana, that's not the worst. But more importantly, untap all permanents you control during each other's player's untap step. That is the kind of card that gets targeted right away, where either it dies, or somebody kills it, or everybody tries to copy it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's very good. Awakening, 2 green, enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, untap all creatures and lands.
All the creatures and lands, not just yours.
Yeah, all of them. So that comes with a price of helping your opponent, but sometimes people are pretty happy with you if you're helping them out that way. So
And you don't care, because you're not going to have a turn, and they're going to
Nope.
have their turn anyway, so whatever.
Yep, and Unwinding Clock. Untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. For 4 mana. It's pretty great. So those are kind of the untap effects that we have. And in my current build of the deck, I have all 3, because untapping is super important. If you can't untap, you can't do much at all. There's also kind of a pseudo untap, which is going to be Magus of the Candelabra, or actual Candelabra, for that matter.
Candelabra of Taunos, yeah.
So if you're somehow able to just have Unwinding Clock out, you're able to then untap your lands with those cards. Or if you just happen to have, excess mana somehow, you're able to untap lands, which is nice.
What is the Magus of the Candelabra? What?
It's a creature version of Candelabra of Taunos, which is an artifact for 1 that says, pay X mana, tap it, untap X target lands.
And that's a $500 card. I don't
Yep.
see Magus of the Candelabra, though.
Magus of the Candelabra is a $1 card for a single green. It says the same thing, basically. For a single green, you get a 1/2 human wizard with X, tap, untap X target lands from Time Spiral.
Okay.
Yep. He's also in my deck. I just never saw him.
You got him out that last game.
No, I had Kiora's Follower. Kiora's Follower out, not Magus, sadly.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's see. Untap, upkeep. We're intentionally skipping that, right?
Yep. Upkeep only brings weakness.
So then how do you simulate the draw phase?
Well, there's dozens of ways to do draw. You can do things like Greed, Erebos, God of the Dead. We can do something like Temple Bell, although that comes with the other downside of having your opponents also draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the easiest one to take care of, but I neglected for my build.
Now, with Greed and Erebos, you still need mana to draw those cards, right?
Right, so the untap step is way more important than the draw step, which is why I'm so redundant in the untap part. It's great to have cards, but if you don't have mana to cast it, you're done with the game.
Have you thought about just borrowing someone else's draw step?
That's a good point.
There's a pretty good card from Dissension for this deck. It's Psychic Possession for 2 blue.
Mm-hmm.
Enchanted opponent, skip your own draw step, which you were going to do anyway. And then whenever enchanted opponent draws a card, you can draw a card.
Yeah. Consecrated Sphinx also works for this. It's also a big body. You know, we don't really care about that so much. But there are options out there, and I should have known better. So the next thing we need to recreate is our main phase. How do we cast spells?
Oh, you just make everything flashy, huh?
Yeah, that's probably the best way.
Or run only instants, but that doesn't seem like it would be good.
Well, considering all of our untaps are either enchantment, creature, or artifact, and none of them have flash by themselves, so we need to make sure we have ways to cast our spells. And once again, this is a section that we can just take out of the I'm going to do my stuff during your turn decks. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard about, Teferi, Mage of Sulfur, 2 blue for Human Wizard, 3/4. Flash, creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield have flash. Each opponent can cast spells only anytime he or she could cast a sorcery. So, hey, now your creatures have flash. Yeva, Nature's Herald, 2 green for 4/4 Elf Shaman. She herself has flash as well, and you may cast green creature cards as though they have flash.
Do you have enough of those for it to matter?
I was running, I have 21 creatures, actually, which is not the worst amount of creatures in there to have, but they are both very restrictive by forcing creatures to be there. So I definitely prefer some of the more open-ended flash enablers.
Right.
Do you run either of them, though? Do you run Teferi?
I don't actually run either of those.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even run Shimmermere, which is a 3 mana 2/2. He has flash and may cast artifact spells as though they had flash.
Yeah, that's probably a little too restrictive.
Yeah.
Same with Yeva with the green creatures. I think if out of those 3, if I was going to run any of them in this deck, it would be Teferi.
Yeah, I agree. But even then, there are other ways to cheat creatures in that don't require them to be in my hand necessarily.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so I really steered away from those restrictive ones. That even includes a Hypersonic Dragon for 3 blue-red, flying haste, and you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash.
Yeah, that doesn't seem good.
It's not great.
Right.
I have 3 sorceries in my deck. So
Okay.
I really wanted to avoid having to work on my turn as much as possible with this deck. So that's why sorceries are so low.
Okay. How about these next cards?
Next 3 are all in my deck. Fidelkan Orrery, 4 mana, artifact. You may cast non-land cards as though they had flash. I love this card. Anytime, any deck that I have that I am favoring at the moment gets Fidelkan Orrery in it.
Oh.
I almost always forget I have it out, but it's in there so I can be a proper good Magic player and play during other people's end steps.
Yeah, it goes in everything.
It's also only like $5 last I checked.
It was less because they reprinted it, but then it went back up.
Yeah.
So what else you got? Leyline?
Leyline of Anticipation, a good classic. 2 blue. You may cast non-land cards as though they had flash, with the added bonus of being a leyline, so if it's in your starting hand, you have a pre-game effect of putting it out onto the board.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! So then you get to play the entire game as though you had flash until it's removed.
And people will try to remove it too.
Oh, they will.
It's a high priority target from turn 1.
Nobody likes to see a leyline out before the game. Nobody. Everyone looks at it, and they look at you, and you're the target.
Well, I mean, you like to see it, but...
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And legacy leyline players like to see it. But
That deck is silly.
it is, and I love it. 100% love it. The last card is Alchemist's Refuge. Green, blue, tap. You may cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash. It's a land, so that goes right into the deck. If I can save a slot of spells by putting a land in there, I'll do it every time.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the turn. That's your untap, your draw, and your main phase.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 cards that are spoken for just to recreate a turn somewhat consistently.
Well, just the best parts of the turn, right?
Yeah, the parts that we care about the most anyway.
Okay. So how many tutors do you have to find those 7, well, a subset of those 7 cards?
Well, let's see. I'm running 8 tutors right now.
Okay.
Oh, well, wait, no, sorry. 9 tutors if we include Academy Rector.
You got Tempt with Discovery in there?
Yep.
Okay.
The full list is Demonic Tutor, Tempt with Discovery, Enlightened Tutor, Mystical Tutor, Summoner's Pact, Chord of Calling, Academy Rector, Crop Rotation.
Okay.
Oh, and Expedition Map. There we go.
All right.
Yeah. So, fortunately, most of these tutors can be used for more than one target. So, like if we already have our Glacial Chasm in hand and we have an Expedition Map, hey, we can go get any land we want. Sounds great to me. Enlightened Tutor, I already have my Vidalcan Orrery. I can go get, some fancy Awakening or something like that. So I can kind of dip and dodge, get what I need to get, Got to float like a butterfly and sting just a little bit. I'm not quite at the bee level of stinging. It's more of like
The bees.
Sting like a, I don't know.
Like a locust.
A thorn.
Okay.
Or, a really bad burn.
Ow.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been in the sun for too long.
Yeah, like a sunburn. Yeah, there we go.
Sting like a sunburn.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a sunburn. That's kind of how this deck is shaping up right now. It's more annoying than anything else.
It's pretty, but it's a little hot in here.
Yeah, exactly. So finally, the secret tech cards that I have found, and I kind of really, really enjoy them. The first one is Solitary Confinement. 2 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Solitary Confinement unless you discard a card from your hand. Skip your draw step. You can't be the target of spells or abilities. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. This is an amazing card for this deck.
Yeah, that seems really good.
It's already a good card. Like, that is a card that most people, or a good portion of people, would actually put in their deck. It's not a card you would put in without a reason, but it's a card, once you do have a reason for it, you want to put it in there. I can't be the target of spells or abilities. Hey, I'm already actually running Leyline of Sanctity.
The one that gives you hexproof.
Yep, gives me hexproof at the beginning of my turns. Reason being, I don't want to be the target of any burn spell. I don't want to be the target of anything. I'm already in a very precarious position of never taking a turn. So if I can push that away more and make everybody else fight among themselves more, all the better. And getting 2 effects in 1 card is the kind of flexibility you want. The next one I was particularly proud of. Pursuit of Knowledge. 3 and a white. Skip drawing a card. Put a study counter on Pursuit of Knowledge. Remove 3 study counters from Pursuit of Knowledge. Sacrifice Pursuit of Knowledge. Draw 7 cards. In this case, I don't actually care about the second part of this enchantment at all. This card just stops you from decking yourself. Period. You can't be decked because you can just always skip drawing a card.
So this is defense against mill decks?
Defense against mill decks or defense against milling yourself on accident.
Is that likely to happen?
It could. The deck was running Commune with Lava and Blue Sun Zenith so that I could at least kind of churn through my deck if I needed to. It also just straight up stops Nekazar because he can't force me to draw cards.
But I thought you already were taking damage from Nekazar because of solitary confinement.
Yeah, but the other half of Nekazar is actually drawing the cards.
Oh, right. Sure, okay.
I like it just because I can just stop from drawing it, and that's a way that I'm going to lose. Whether or not it is 100% necessary in any particular meta, it's kind of up to you. But we play with Nate.
That's a good point.
If I didn't have the Leyline of Sanctity out in game 1, I would have been milled out and exiled out, and with no way to shuffle my graveyard into my library or get my exile away from, the exile.
Thanks a lot, Una.
Except for one card at a time. Yeah. So by having this card out, we solve the problem of, losing from having to draw a card. Because it isn't illegal to have 0 cards in your library, and somebody can tell you to put cards from your library into your graveyard as many times as you want. It's not until you try to draw a card and there is no card that you lose.
Right.
So this is a card that just stops that right in its place. So you kind of need to protect that baby if you're in that situation. Finally, probably the biggest reason to be in red and black is Havoc Festival.
Yeah, I like this one.
I love this card. I've built Mogus with Havoc Festival. It was I'm probably not going to win anymore tonight because my brain is shut off. So I might as well play the game of who's going to lose first? Probably me. So it's a enchantment for 4 black-red. Players can't gain life. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses half his or her life rounded up.
Yeah.
I don't have an upkeep anymore.
Ooh. I was worried until you pointed that out. That sounds so risky otherwise.
Risky, but fun.
Definitely.
It's like playing chicken.
You could also do the Karma and Urborg trick, too, because you don't have an upkeep to take damage with Karma.
I think Dean's take on the deck had that in there.
Yeah, I built this with a Bant shell, and I run Karma and Urborg, and then I also run the Blue Muse. Is that
Dreamborn?
Dreamborn Muse to mill my opponents out. Since I don't have a turn, I don't have to mill anything out during my upkeep.
So yeah, those are my 3 secret tech cards in this deck. At this point, we know we at least have to be green and white to make the deck actually function. But the deck gets better if we add blue, and in my opinion, it gets even better if we add black.
Oh yeah.
I'm really debating about red at this point, no matter how sweet Havoc Festival is. The full 5 colors is taxing on this deck because you're already scrambling to get all your pieces together. I really did not enjoy scrambling to get all the colors I needed for casting any of the pieces as well. Although, now that I think about it, if we have Academy Rector, we don't actually need any red sources for our deck.
Yeah, you can totally get out of red.
Yeah, we can just keep it to the 5 colors, and we can just keep the Reaper King as the commander, kick out all of the red lands. Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think I might do that. Okay.
Well, I did some looking up on some cards, so I'll make some suggestions here. So about the part where until your next turn, where that lasts forever, basically. So the Goad ability, which is primarily in red, so maybe listen to this before you take out all your red stuff. The Goad ability is until your next turn, which is forever. The creature that you goaded attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. So if you're down to 1-on-1, goad does nothing except just make him attack. But if there's more than one opponent, you can force somebody else's creature to keep attacking somebody who isn't you.
There is one notable blue creature that is actually in my deck.
Is he jeering?
Yes, he's a jeering homunculus.
Yeah, he is.
So I do love the fact that you can just make somebody attack forever with this. You take your wins when you can sometimes.
Yeah. Also, the keyword detain. It's mainly in white and blue. Until your next turn, The creature you detained can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated.
The best card with that is Lavinia of the 10th. She is awesome. See here. Lavinia of the 10th is a legendary creature human soldier for 3 white-blue. She's a 4/4 with protection from red, but who cares about any of that? When Lavinia of the 10th enters the battlefield, detain each non-land permanent your opponents control with converted mana cost 4 or less.
That could be a bunch.
That could be, that could be worse than a board wipe. It doesn't matter if they remove her. Everything is already detained until your next turn, which is never going to come.
Yeah, so you don't have a main phase, so you can't really use planeswalkers, right?
Yeah.
Not without Teferi Temporal Archmage's emblem, which says you can activate planeswalkers at instant speed during your opponent's turns.
But I would hate to have to rely on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think Goad and Detain are the best options for those things, because they happen when the thing enters the battlefield, usually. So if you can flicker those things, you can keep on making it happen. You don't have to worry about attacking. You just blink it.
Yep. And it's great. So the deck list will be linked in the show notes or wherever Nate decides to hide it. You know, maybe in the corner of the screen.
No, I put a link to the deck list in the notes for the MP3 and stuff.
Did you talk about your win condition besides Havoc Festival, Patrick?
Did I have one? I don't.
I'm pretty sure you built one in here. I remember you talking about something earlier. Wait, what? You didn't build another win con in?
Nope.
Oh, well, alright then.
I was all in on this.
How about this? What are some potential win conditions besides Havoc Festival? You did look at some other stuff, because we talked about it before.
Alright, well, there are other options. We could go with the mill plan that you suggested. We could go with a door to nothingness to force out their people to lose. So, you know, that's a different kind of combo we could go with. We could go with the slowest pinging death ever. Just include a one of, like a lobber crew, and just tap and tap and tap and tap until everybody's dead. There's a couple of ways we could do this. Were you thinking of a specific one?
Well, how about like Sulfuric Vortex, where players can't gain life, and during each player's upkeep, it deals 2 damage to them? I don't know. I wasn't thinking of anything in particular, but I was wondering if you had explored any other options.
I have been so concerned with just making a functional deck that I totally forgot about adding additional win conditions. There is a chance that perhaps the game has gone so slowly that your turn 4 Eater of Days is actually going to get you there. And the beatdown plan is great, but I don't really see this deck as a beatdown deck in any sense of the word.
It's like the sun. It just hovers there and burns you slowly.
Yep.
Oh, one thing I don't think you did mention that we had talked about earlier was enabling your creatures with activated abilities to actually do their stuff, since you don't have an upkeep phase.
Yep, you don't have an upkeep phase. That's the one thing about an upkeep phase that is really nice to have, is that that's what allows your non-hasty creatures to actually do something.
So how do you let them do stuff?
I have one way to do that, and that's Concordant Crossroads. 1 green, world enchantment, everything has haste. It's just like Awakening, old templating. It's a symmetrical effect.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
There's also the red version of that, if you are in 5 colors, for Mass Hysteria, which does the exact same thing.
If you wanted to be more specific with it and just do your team, Hammer Perforos also just does your team. It's typically a red thing.
Yeah.
And I was trying to cut back on red as much as possible as the deck developed.
If you do completely cut red, there's also 1,000-Year Elixir, which is an artifact that lets everything activate abilities as though it had haste.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it works for what you're trying to do, since you don't actually want to attack, so.
Yep. The one thing I do like about Concordant Crossroads, though, is that it is an enchantment, so I'm able to tutor it up in an emergency, like 3 different ways. So it's good. It's very good. The more tutors I can find that can grab more than one piece of the puzzle, the better this deck is going to get.
Yeah. So this was your very first time playing this deck.
Right. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what this deck needs. First thing it needs is more card draw. I was down to 1 to 3 cards more than once and just sitting there waiting for my draw step, even though I would have like a Chronotog out or something like that. I couldn't skip any turns and really get the combo going until I had at least one more piece or some way to actually keep the momentum going in my favor. So it was all about just kind of delaying until I could get to that point. And that's ultimately, I think, what lost me the games, is that I couldn't keep up momentum in any way. I think I need to cut some redundant pieces of the puzzle. Like, I probably don't need Witchbane Orb anymore for Hexproof. I would think I was overly worried about being targeted.
Yeah. Except for Una, there was nothing that was going to target you between those 2 games too much.
Right. So that's a spot where I can cut down and then add some more interaction. I need to take more control over the board. I think a more one-sided board wipes might be great in this deck. And potentially more tutors. I'm thinking probably Whir of Invention. The reason being is that I can whir for 0, and I have 0 costed artifacts in the deck in the name of lands. And I also need to search up probably the Dulcan Orrery or maybe my Chronotog Totem or a Library of Lang. These are all like great options that I need to be able to find when I can.
Yeah, Whir of Invention is great. I just added this to Niv Mizzet, and the fact that it finds the card and puts it on the battlefield is really key.
That's exactly why Chord of Calling is in this deck too. It's just another copy of any of my creatures. And so that's kind of it. I did a lot of talking about this deck. Please do let me know what you think about it.
All right. Before you go cutting red, let me read you some more cards. Ancient Runes, 2 and a red enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, hey, you don't have one. Ancient Runes deals damage to that player equal to the number of artifacts he or she controls.
I remember the Commander's Brewed guys talking about it.
Rivalry, 2 and a red enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player controls the most lands, Rivalry deals 2 damage to him or her.
That'll never be you, probably.
Maybe. Storm World, it only costs a single red. It's a world enchantment, so Concordant Crossroads will take it out. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Storm World deals X damage to that player where X is 4, minus the number of cards in his or her hand. You mentioned Sulfuric Vortex already. And Power Surge for red enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Power Surge deals X damage to that player where X is the number of untapped lands he or she controlled at the beginning of this turn. So there's some red stuff that can count as a slow win condition.
Yeah, I think red really holds the key for finishing out games in a more timely manner than any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to build a version of this, Nate, with red? Super red?
Oh, I don't know.
It's a lot of jank.
I don't know.
Is this too janky even for you?
It might be. It's intriguing. I find the concept intriguing.
I will say that before I built the 5-color version, I tried really hard to actually just get it down to Mardu. Just the red, black, and white. But the blue is really important for this deck. So
and the green for the untapping.
And the green. And like once I saw what black, red, and white did, there was just no untapping. So couldn't do anything anymore. So in short of running Unwinding Clock and Mysican Thladis. And it's just for the untap effect.
Hey.
Yeah. So
That's clever.
so
That's a thing you could do.
it is a thing you can do, but that also makes you very weak to I don't know. Nate? What's your favorite? Oh, that's what it is. Vandal Blast makes you very weak to Vandal Blast.
Oh, and Hercule's Recall, too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, there is no shortage of artifact tape in EDH.
Isn't that why you run blue?
For Hercule's Recall?
No. For counterspell.
Well, then, but that doesn't really solve the problem of just being Mardu.
That's true. Yeah, I guess you would have to run Lapse of Certainty and recycle it somehow.
Yeah. Or Mana Tithe and bring it back over and over again.
Yeah, but that's a soft counter.
Yeah. Well, it's a soft counter so long as you don't recur it immediately.
Oh, sure.
So just keep casting Mana Tithe over and over again until they can't afford it.
That would be a thing you could do.
You might as well just be running Flusterstorm at that point.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
All right. So we'll revisit this deck maybe after you've tweaked it a little bit. And
yeah, and I really, you guys, hit me up on Twitter. We'll take a look at the deck. Tell me how I'm being dumb, because this is...
You can rephrase that.
Tell me what you think, and let me know what needs to change for it. If you tell me that it just needs to take turns, I'm just not going to listen to it. That's not the point. Everybody has their, ladies looking left deck. This is I'm not going to be taking any turns deck. So that's just the way it's going to be.
He's got a goal here, people.
The goal, it's good. I want to take so few turns that people stop wanting to play against me when I take the deck out.
Yeah, you don't often hear, he's skipping his next turn.
Well, we're in our death knells now.
One more question, Patrick. If you had the option to just skip like an infinite number of turns, would you do it once you got the combo online, or would you be a little bit more conservative and just skip one, like skip the next turn, skip the next turn, skip the next turn each time your turn was about to come up?
It depends on my options. So there is one card that lets you skip a non-infinite number of turns, but you have to choose it at one time.
Which card is that?
That is Lethal Vapors.
Oh, that.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, you can pay 0.
So you stack all the triggers?
You stack all the triggers. Yep. So you have to take, you have to choose how many turns you're going to skip. Right when you destroy it.
Okay.
And you also have to make sure that you...
What a drawback.
You also have to make... You also have to make sure that nobody else is in on the plan on how this works. Because then they can just decide to, in response to your skipping your next turn, choose to skip their next turn, and then the person in next row can skip their turn, and then you'll just be back to where you are.
Everyone skips 6 million turns.
Yep.
I actually think I'll take the 6 million turns. I think I could do something with that.
Right. So, so I mean, if you have a very trusting group, it's where everybody agrees and actually follows through. Lethal Vapors might not be the plan, but it's kind of the prisoner's dilemma here. What's best for the group is probably what's not going to work out.
I think I'm crying a little bit.
It's a great card. It's perfect for this deck.
Yeah. It's a trick that'll work once. And then everybody will skip their turn.
Yeah. And then nobody will be playing Magic anymore.
All right, that was good. Our last game. We play tested this deck. We put it through some paces.
Yeah, I did a whole lot of nothing for 2 games. I think I was the only reason why I stuck around for as long as I did is that you guys were being very nice to me.
I did want to see what the deck was going to do, and I couldn't target you with a lane line of Sanctity out.
That's also true. You did kill me with a whole bunch of flying 1/1s though.
Yeah. So Patrick has built this in a Reaper King 5-color version. We were playing. Dean had a new Jeru with his eyes open, a mono white planeswalker deck. So Gideon emblem and some Elspeth soldiers. And I was playing. I'm retooling Una, the Queen of the Fae, because after playing with the Locust God, you know how I have the formula of the number of lands that you should have in your deck is a function of the commander's mana cost. I think the number of mana rocks is also going to be a function of that. I haven't nailed down what the actual formula is, but after playing the Locust God, I think that's probably the case. If you have a higher CMC commander and you want to get it out before the game is over, you need to put in more mana rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Or ramp of whatever kind you have. If you're in green, you replace some of the mana rocks with green land getting spells. I'll work it out. I'll get back to you. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That first game, you just crushed everybody with Una.
Yeah.
So you didn't retool the strategy. You're retooling the mana base.
Yeah. Retooling the mana curve and being able to get Una out in a reasonable time. That first game, well, both games, actually, it also helped that Dean was running a monocolored deck, so I didn't have to guess a color. I could get more fairies.
Oh, it hurt. It hurt real bad.
By using Una's ability.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my library.
Yep.
I was just glad I couldn't be targeted. It was nice.
Yeah, I don't think I have any infinite combos in Una, but I'm working on just other ways to get massive amounts of mana. So the first game, I had an Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, and I played a Bubbling Muck, so all of them got an extra black mana. And then I played a Norcana Revenant, which gave me another extra black mana for every land I tapped. And then Rings of Brighthearth doubled Una's ability, so I think I hit Dean with 34 cards in a turn.
I think that was the top end, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So that was that game. Unless you want to talk about more of what happened. That soldier that Fogs was pretty cool. Knight Captain of Eos.
Yeah. Try to stop Nate with Knight Captain of Eos, and then I dropped an Elspeth who makes more soldier tokens. So Knight Captain of Eos is a human knight for 4 and white. He's a 2/2. When he comes into play, you make 2 1/1 white soldiers, and we can pay a white and sacrifice a soldier to Fog. So I was going to hold Nate off with that to keep my planeswalkers alive, but Patrick decided to remove my...
Slaughter packed it.
Yeah.
Well, the thought process was, if Nate can't attack Dean, he's going to start looking around at the board.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have asked me. I might have protected you too. It fogs for
No,
everyone.
you wouldn't have.
You don't know.
Mr. I have 1,000,000 3/3 flying soldiers. I don't want none of that.
Well, that was game 2.
Well, whatever. You would have had even more.
You didn't know that during game 1.
True, but I also saw the writing on the wall when I saw that you had Elspeth making more and more tokens. Just many tokens.
There's only so many planeswalkers you can run in a mono white deck, and, Elspeth is one of them.
Mm-hmm. And she makes a lot of soldiers. I don't blame you for doing it. I'm just saying that's why I did it. It's why I'll kill him. I'll kill him again.
Yeah.
I stand by that. I maybe did it a little too soon, but I've never cast Slaughter Pact before, and I just wanted to see it happen.
Got a little overeager?
Yeah. Felt good. I was completely untapped. I could have had literally murder in my hand, and it would have been the exact same card.
That's true, sort of. Game 1, Nate just killed us both. He turned my whole library into fairies and then killed Patrick with the fairies.
Yep.
And then game 2, Nate switched it up. He played...
Yeah, I switched to a Yidris. I've been tweaking Yidris a little bit. And I forget what tweaks I made. I can get back to you on that.
He did get a quadruple cascade off Wanderer.
Maelstrom Wanderer.
Yeah,
yep.
Maelstrom Wanderer.
Which was pretty cool. Didn't get anything cool from... Or he only got minorly cool things from the cascades, but still, 4 cascades is nice.
Yeah, I got a extra combat step. I might have had double strike, but I don't think I got to use the double strike. Oh, I did use the double strike to kill Dean, because if you can just get Yidris up to 11 power...
Yeah. How much life did you have when you killed me, Nate?
Oh, I had 1 life.
Yeah,
I won the game with 1 life, because... I guess...
Yeah, I put Nate down to 1 life.
Dean was merciful.
Nope.
Or he didn't have enough. He had 1 power short.
No, Patrick was merciful.
Oh, yeah.
No, Dean ran out of creatures to attack Nate with.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was at 1, but before he attacked you for lethal, Dean, I had killed my Academy Rector.
Ah, right.
Which would have allowed me to get Havoc Festival. So I could have killed him, but I didn't think I had a chance against you, Dean. So...
and then it came back and killed both of us.
Yep. That's exactly what happened.
Well, Dean, you did get your Gideon of the Trials emblem out in both games.
I did very early, too.
Yeah.
And it actually would have mattered during the second game if I had thought to put Gideon out on the battlefield before passing my turn. The turn that you killed me with Yidris.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is another janky, not really a win con, but a not losing con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gideon's emblem says you can't lose as long as you have a Gideon Planeswalker on the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's Gideons on Gideons up in here.
Yeah, so I am playing a lot of Gideons in that deck. It's interesting. It'll have to be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah.
Pets update?
Sure.
Pets update. Murder.
Okay. So for the pets update, our dog, I don't know how much of an update this is. This predates us owning her, but Hattie has a broken rib. She's a shelter dog, so we don't know how she broke it, but it's kind of like a rib that just kind of is snapped in half, and she's got like half a rib there, and it's kind of...
What?
It's kind of tickly when you rub her belly.
That's strange.
Yeah, it is strange. It's just on the one side.
Where's the rest of the rib?
It seems to not be there.
Okay.
Yeah. When we first got her, she did get... she had some kind of an injury, so we had to get her x-rayed, and there was no half of a rib floating around inside of her, so we don't know.
That's...
Oh.
Well, poor pupper.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so as long as it's not bothering her currently, I guess that's okay.
Yep.
All right. My cats, even though we have no shortage of cat beds and pillowed surfaces, their favorite bed lately is my suitcase that I brought back from GP Vegas. And they hang out in the suitcase, both of them together.
That's because it smells like magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that must be it.
You brought the essence of magical Christmas land with you.
Mm-hmm. Vegas magic.
Yep.
And my girlfriend and I took our dog Talon to the Pride Parade in Minneapolis this past weekend, and he got many pets from strangers, especially drunk strangers.
The best kind.
Yeah, he is beyond exhausted right now. And it's been a week. It has been a literal week, and he like even the people at daycare were like, "Is everything okay with him? I mean, he's not like acting sick or anything, but he's just like really low key." And it's like, yeah, he went to Pride, and he couldn't take his midday nap because it was too loud. Yeah, and so that's really just thrown him off for the entire week.
Poor pupper.
Yeah. He leads a very tough life.
So those are our pet updates. You can tweet your pet updates to @commandtime
Oh, yeah.
on the next Commander Time. Back to basics?
Yeah, probably back to basics. And we promise it won't be so jank heavy.
We'll revisit different jank topics. This could be a series. We'll make a jank series.
Yeah, let's not promise
Where we
anything.
just talk about janky things. I think there's enough jank out there that we can make a series out of it.
No, I meant let's not promise no more jank from Patrick.
Well, I'm saying next time there probably won't be as much jank.
Well, maybe not as much, but no promises about no jank.
I will slowly corrupt the world of EDH with jank.
Mm-hmm.
It's late.
It is. It's 3 o'clock.
We've been doing this for a while.
So I'm going to hit the stop button.
All right. Visit us at patreon.com/commandertime.
You can find me on Twitter @grubfellow.
At Detective Yarmus.
At Mr. Plorg.